Shabbat Shalom and happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
It's so nice to be on a bima with such bright colors this Shabbat. So this Shabbat we read Parashat Korach. The focus of the Parsha is the recounting of the rebellion of Korach, a cousin of Moshe and Aharon, Datan, Aviram, and 250 or so of their followers. Now these are not just your average Joe Israelites. They are Nesi'ei Edah and Anshe Shem. They are leaders of the people. They are people of repute. Their contention is that Moshe and Aharon hold a place of unearned eminence that should be shared with others. It says in the Parsha, Ki chol ha'edah kulam kadoshim uvetocham Adonai umadua titnasu al kahal Adonai. For all the community are holy, all of them, and Adonai is in their midst. Why then do you raise yourselves above Adonai's congregation? So Moshe says, all right, you want a throwdown? I'll give you a throwdown. Bring your pans of incense, and we'll see whom God chooses. After they do so, God's preference is shown and power demonstrated. Some rebels are swallowed by the ground, while others are consumed by fire from God, and others die in a plague. Not very hard to notice. So what was wrong with Korach and his followers advocating for a more egalitarian, shared approach to leadership? In fact, it appears this was not truly their aim. Commentator Nechama Leibowitz notes that they do not say all the congregation is holy as a unit, but all the congregation are holy, kulam kadoshim, every one of them, each one taken individually. The assertion of individual ambitions outweighs their group feeling as a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. They interpreted the mission of holiness, the role of chosen people, with which they have been charged by God, in the sense of conferring on them superiority and privilege, rather than as constituting a call to shoulder extra duties and responsibilities. God demanded of them, you shall be holy, and that is to say, show yourselves holy by your deeds. The tragic fate of Korach and his followers is a rebuke to the idea of leadership as a seat of entitlement. I would argue that moral, holy leadership is about service and vision. True leadership is about treating every member of one's community with respect, seeing in them the divine spark, and sharing a vision for a society in which we all act on this principle. In the context of the Jewish community, this isn't simply offering sacrifices in biblical times, as the priests did, or in a more modern context, running services and ensuring that regular rituals take place. Leadership requires the courage to speak out for the rights and belonging of people marginalized in society, the way that lesbian, gay, bisexual people are, and especially the way that transgender, gender nonconforming, and queer people are being targeted today. And oh, are they being targeted? Since the beginning of 2023, 558, that's 558 anti-LGBTQ bills, primarily targeting the trans and gender nonconforming communities and drag performers, have been proposed nationwide. 82 anti-trans bills have already been passed. In the past 4 weeks alone, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed bills criminalizing transgender and gender nonconforming people using bathrooms aligned with their gender identity and approving family separation for parents seeking gender-affirming care for their children. To put that in perspective, in 2022, 26 bills passed out of the 174 bills proposed. That's 174 last year and 558 this year, and it's only June. And this isn't just about protecting our children, quote unquote, as some advocates for these discriminatory bills pretend. States like Kansas, Oklahoma, and South Carolina have introduced bans on gender-affirming care that extend into adulthood, up to 26 years old. The religious right is attempting to erase identities and criminalize people who dare to support these other people. In educational settings, bills like Arizona House Bill 1700 encourage parents to report and ban books which promote gender fluidity or gender pronouns. Others, like Arizona Senate Bill 1001, require that both a guardian and teacher approve of a student's pronouns. Farther away, Uganda recently passed a law assigning the death penalty to anyone convicted of, quote, aggravated homosexuality, and a 20-year sentence for promoting homosexuality, which can include counseling LGBTQ people, working at a community center, providing safer sex supplies, etc. This is an especially heinous example, but same-sex relationships are already illegal in more than 30 African countries. And don't think this just happens in the Bible Belt or across an ocean. This month, New Jersey Attorney General Matt Platkin has filed an injunction to stop a new policy that Manalapan, Marlborough, and Middletown school districts voted on this week, requiring schools to contact the parent of a child if the student has decided to be recognized by a new gender or name. To be clear, this is not the worst of it, but stopping rules like this, which make it unsafe for young people to explore their identities at school if they don't have supportive families, are important for protecting the health and safety of our kids. I would also be remiss not to note that today is the one-year anniversary of the Supreme Court striking down a constitutional right to abortion, another priority of the radical right that threatens health and safety. Our tradition has something to say about how we characterize disagreements. In Pirkei Avot, chapter 5, it says, Kol machloket shehi l'shem shamayim, sofa litkayem, v'she'ena l'shem shamayim, ein sofa litkayem. Ezo hi machloket shehi l'shem shamayim, machloket Hillel v'shamai. V'she'ena l'shem shamayim, zo machloket Korach v'chol edato. Every disagreement that is pursued in a heavenly cause, for the sake of heaven, meaning to reach truth, is destined to be perpetuated, and that which is not pursued in a heavenly cause is not destined to be perpetuated. Which can be considered a disagreement pursued in a heavenly cause? This is the disagreement of Hillel and Shammai. And that is not pursued in a heavenly cause. That is the disagreement of Korach and his congregation. The discriminatory anti-trans legislation being proposed and passed, like that of Korach and his followers, is not a machloket l'shem shamayim. They are not seeking truth or to understand. They are seeking to control people and dictate gender in our society. As such, these efforts are not destined to endure. But this doesn't just happen. It takes effort, like the work of allyship and self-education, which I would argue is l'shem shamayim. If you may not know a lot about trans identity or what it means to be gender nonconforming, there are excellent resources out there. There are books like How to They Them, a visual guide to non-binary pronouns and the world of gender fluidity by Stuart Getty, or Gender Euphoria, a collection of stories of joy by trans, non-binary, and intersex writers, edited by Laura Kate Dale. There are films like the classic Paris is Burning, a recent Netflix documentary called The Death and Life of Marsha P. Johnson, a queer pioneer in New York City, among others. You can seek out events every year on March 31st, International Transgender Day of Visibility, dedicated to celebrating transgender people and raising awareness of the discrimination that they face. Showing up in spaces like this is also an act of allyship, showing that you support people expressing their true selves. It's important to do this on Transgender Day of Remembrance, November 20th, when we also mourn and memorialize those who have been murdered as a result of transphobia. Even something as small as wearing a rainbow or pink, blue, and white pin or sticker on your coat or backpack sends an important message to those around you that they are safe in your company. Judaism instructs us to pursue justice, tzedek, tzedek tirdof, and also that we should love our neighbor as ourselves, ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. These foundational principles reinforce the imperative to stand up for our neighbors, friends, and fellow humans when they are under attack. We should advocate a just society where everyone can live their true identities out and proud and be able to receive the medical care and support that they need. We can all be leaders in doing this. When we talk about Pride Month and its associated festivities with our kids, we explain that these are celebrations of families like ours. This is what I do in my family, with two moms or two dads or people who may not identify as either. And not only families with children too. And this is important because it's not easy. People whose appearance may not match the gender markers on their identification documents risk invasive questioning at airports or when stopped by police. They, as I, research carefully different cities or countries before deciding whether it is safe enough to travel there, and when there, how to dress or how to behave. In our family, we made sure to get passports for our kids as soon as we could so that we would have a photo ID for them, even as babies, with our shared surname, and that we could use to prove our role as their parents, were we to be questioned. And even in safer, quote unquote, areas, that doesn't stop people from calling out hateful names from across the street or a passing car. This is why it's so important that we live in a community like ours, with a permanently painted rainbow crosswalk in front of Maplewood Town Hall, gay and trans pride flags hanging in the lobby of this synagogue for all to see, and queer clergy, congregants, and board members who make Bethel the vibrant place that it is. We have always felt welcomed here, in my family, and able to be our whole selves. For this, I am grateful for the moral leadership of this congregation, from our rabbis through to all of you. This community is an example of an Edah Kedoshah, espousing the part of Korach's assertion that we are holy, but not as individuals, Kulam Kedoshim, each trying to increase our fortune, instead as a cohesive unit, holy because of our constituent members in all of our diversity, but even more so because of the way in which we come together as a caring whole. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.
Avi, thank you for your beautiful and inspiring words. I want to offer a blessing to all of us on this Pride Shabbat before we get back to our service and our davening together. Yasher Koach. Makor HaChaim, source of life, you have blessed each of us with your spirit. In your wisdom, you have made each of us a unique treasure. Mayan Chayenu, wellspring of our lives, cause us to flow with courage, strength, and compassion, to live our stories openly, proudly, and joyfully. Shechina Shel Ahava, presence of love, you embrace us with your love. May we embrace ourselves, our partners, our lovers, our friends, our children, our dear ones with the power of your Ahava Rabbah, your unending, boundless love. Ruach HaShalom, spirit of peace and wholeness, open our eyes to the gifts and blessings we offer and receive from each other. Open our hearts to welcome each other fully and truly. Open our hands to embrace, to support, to lift each other with joy, with song, and with deep friendship. Today, as we celebrate renewal, pride, and community, let us all walk together with strength, compassion, and love. Nevarech et Mayan Chayenu asher techadesh u'tisameach otanu. We bless you, wellspring of our lives. May you fill us all with joy and sanctity. Amen.